I'm gonna go live on YouTube. Um, let's see what happens. All right. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live again. Woo! Maybe it was because we got just like too excited. Anyway, this is our version 2 or 3 or 4 of trying this live again. What's up, Sarp? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pumped. I've just come back from a week of holiday, and I know that you are at your holiday house.
Exactly.
So yeah, tell us about holiday house. Tell us about if you met somebody and they were like, sorry, who are you? What do you do? Like, how do you answer them? So maybe, yeah, start with like who you are and tell us about your summer house after that.
All right. Sure. It doesn't take too long for me. I usually tell them I'm Sarp, and then I tell them that I'm a visual designer. Sometimes I say by education, and then I say I'm a visual artist by practice. And usually that brings up more questions
I
because
can
people are
imagine.
not, yeah, people are not used to hearing that as a profession usually.
It's like, so what do you do every day? Like,
Yeah,
do
and
you
when that
draw
question comes,
pictures?
when that question comes, I usually say I draw silly, childish, abstract pictures, and that stops the conversation. Usually, it doesn't bring up a lot of other questions as well.
It sounds
They,
like when I ask a lawyer what they do, and they're like, I'm a lawyer. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, good
cool.
for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, right now I'm in my summer house in Çeşme, İzmir, um, Aegean, Turkey. Yeah, it's a nice weather. It's a nice night here.
How far away is it from the beach?
My house.
Yeah.
It's like a 10-minute drive.
Okay. So it's not like on the beach or anything. It's just in a
No,
nice.
it's not. It's not. No, it's
And
in
so
a
yeah,
village.
why a summer house? And you go here every year, right?
Yeah, I try to, and the main reason is that I got a little daughter, and when her school ends, it's quite hard to entertain her throughout the summer when I'm going to work. And because when I'm back in Istanbul, I go to my studio every day, and it's just not so fair to my wife as well. So
Yeah.
whenever the school ends, we try to take Ella and come here because we have the garden, we have the beach, and like it's quite easier to have a good time here,
Yeah.
and we have the opportunity to be all together here. So
Man,
we try to
that's
spend most of our time here.
that's really cool. Like the fact that you want to spend time with your family.
Of
Um,
course.
I find like as artists, there's this great pressure to like make money, and oftentimes you look at lawyers or accountants or consultants and how many hours they work, and you're like, wow, these people are like never around their family. But I think as artists, designers, especially when I worked in an advertising agency, like it was intense, like how long I worked. And I know
Hmm.
that when I had a kid, my daughter, who's 3.5 now, like when I first had her, it was like this mental shift. Like I can't work 16-hour days anymore. Like I want to spend time with my daughter. I want to spend time with my
Yeah,
family. Um, and so, yeah, like going
I
back to
think
what you
that's
do. Oh, carry
I
on.
think that's part of like being. If you're an artist, if you're a designer who really cares about what they're creating, because I mean we have some designers who are just in it for the job, and that makes sense as well. But if you're a designer who tries to be like innovative and tries to add some value to the world, and if
Yeah.
you're an artist, you are doing that already. So I think as artists and designers, we tend to be much more aware of what life is and
Mm,
much more aware of the values, and that brings us to that. Like if you have a daughter, and you and I, we have daughters nearly the same age,
yeah.
we know how precious that time is, and we know how precious it will be, because as they're growing up, we won't have this time again. So we tend to think about it, I think, more than other professions maybe, because that's in our
Yeah.
like daily routine of like being aware of our like weaknesses, strengths, feelings, etc., etc.
It's such a like an interesting thought, like being aware of your feelings, being aware of the other people in your family or in your life, and choosing to spend time with them. I know a lot of like centenarians or really old people are like, yeah, I wish I had spent more time with people. And
Exactly.
it's really easy to get, trapped up and working a lot. And sure, a lot of people work with others, but it's like, yeah, what about the family? What about the close friends in your life? And I know as a kid, man, like I spent a lot of time playing and hanging out with the kids in my street or at school. Like it was super fun. But as an adult, as a guy, I don't know if I don't think it's as an artist, but I think just as a guy, it's like, when do I get to play with other guys? Like I don't think I play much sport or go surfing with anyone, or like as soon as I got out of school, I did solo sports like surfing, skating, running. Like I didn't need anybody else to go play with. And yeah, I stopped playing Xbox or PlayStation. It's kind of weird. And recently I've begun to think about play and the importance of play. So I'm trying to plan a trip to like a theme park where there are, like roller coasters and stuff, just to be like, I want to go have fun, man. Or like, I don't know, go skiing or something like that. Do you try to implement any of like that kind of stuff into your life?
Like as you were explaining it, I think I categorize all of this as part of me time. Because when we grow up, when we start to try to make money, when we have a profession, when we have a family, when we have kids, and that I think that's as far as I've seen, and the biggest responsibility, you tend to forget about yourself, the real yourself, under those responsibilities. And playing is one of them. Like playing is one of the most selfish and wonderful things that you can do to yourself. Like working out is the same, like painting is the same, like all of those things, like whatever makes you feel good about yourself, that's me time. And we tend to forget about that under our responsibilities. And I think that that covers like a big area of your life. And if someone forgets about their me time, let's say like Rich and Sarp are friends and we have a relation and we talk about it, and then when I forget about me time, actually I take Sarp out of the question and it's just Rich then. So I'm breaking up the relation basically. So I think that makes a big difference in all of relationships and all of like people's whole idea of themselves.
Yeah. I mean, so like when you're talking about this, like it makes total sense to me. I think like maybe the me from like 2 months ago would have a slightly different idea of this because I'm an artist, designer, multi-hyphenate artist. Like it just feels like I get to play all day. But it's also business. It's also how I make my money. And so a lot of people looking in are like, oh, you have like the best life, man. Like you can just do whatever you want. Like you work for yourself. You just get to draw and doodle and you've got cameras and you get to experiment and play. And I'm just like, yeah, I guess I do. Like, that's really cool. But then people say, so what's your hobby? And I'm like, drawing, making art, like all the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
If you ask, an accountant, a lawyer, sorry, I keep on saying accountants and lawyers, anybody who's an accountant and a lawyer, I love you guys, but I feel like you're very far away from who I am and what I do. But accountants and lawyers, I feel like they have far more permission to have a hobby, to be like, I do this really like hardcore, boring, valuable thing, but my hobby is taking photos or surfing or painting. And it has no like impact on my financial well-being. It just has this impact on my soul. And I'm like, oh, like, what does that look like for me? Like it's a very like different question.
I think it's not that different actually, like,
oh, tell me, I've just switched over. I'm just come into this, like, I need me time. I need to play, but not stuff that I usually do in my business.
my idea is that, I mean, how when we were in the uni or just as it was at, can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I think so
No,
now, yeah.
all right. I was just saying, like, you know how when we were in the uni, if we were doing freelance or when we just like graduated, the definition of doing freelance work or the definition of working was different than what it is today. It
Yeah.
was much less responsibility. It was just like, if someone wants something from me, I can do it. But I mean, we weren't like, I at least I wasn't chasing clients and stuff and just like going at it like 24/7.
Yeah.
I think the idea is that, yeah, what we do as a profession is quite fun, but fun doesn't mean that it's a hobby, because when we do it as a profession and when we have real clients and when we have that responsibility, it takes much of the fun out of it and it's just a regular business. And then when I get done with my responsibilities, I do the same thing, but this time for fun and this time um without like answering to anyone, just do it as I please. For example,
Yeah.
to me, my paintings and my artsy side is, I mean, I do it as work, but I don't let anyone interfere with it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not the most popular artist, basically, because I don't let collectors or any galleries or anyone to say anything about it. So
Mhm.
there are people that buy my art and I can make some money off it, but I don't let them in my circle, so I'm not very popular in that area. But when you do design with me or anything, like, it's just the same business. So it for me at least, like, I keep that side to myself
Yeah.
to basically to keep my sanity. By the way, it's not that I'm so valuable and that's so. I mean, it's just so valuable to me to keep my sanity by doing that. I don't let
Yeah.
anyone else play with my toy there. Does
Yeah.
that
I
does that
mean,
make sense?
yeah, it totally makes sense. And it also like it leads into, the idea of mental health. And perhaps 8 years
Mm.
ago, I never heard of something called like burnout. And increasingly I hear about burnout and
Yeah.
stuff. And so like we're chatting earlier and you said like 3 years ago you started boxing.
Yep.
And I remember when we met in Barcelona, I think it was last year, you
Yep.
mentioned like you started getting fit. Can you talk about that and the impact it had on your creativity, your business, your family life, stuff like that?
Um, I think it was all a matter of um getting your. I mean, basically, in like a big quotation mark, it was a matter of like getting your life together.
Yeah.
And this all started when I truly realized how much of an impact this would have on my daughter, who was 3 years old at the time.
Yeah.
So suddenly I felt like, oh man, it's not just me, or it's not just me and my wife right now. We have this little one, and I'm so responsible of it.
Yeah.
So I need to get my shit together for her. If not for me, at least for her, I need to get my shit together. That's basically that. Like, I can't be this fat. I can't
Yeah.
eat this bad. I have to do some stuff. It's not just the professional life and making some money or something, because I mean, we all know now that it was the previous generation's fault. Now we all know that the father or the mother who brings money into the household and never spends time with their children is not the most popular idea. So that
Yeah.
that wasn't gonna win it. So yeah, I got this idea of I need to be much more healthier, and that
Uh,
started with losing some weight. Started the boxing, then workout, adjusting my sleep times, taking my business more seriously. I mean, it's just basically it's all connected. When you do one, when you start to put everything in like a little schedule and everything in position, it just connects, and the other stuff comes much more easier. I
yeah.
don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, when you start to discipline yourself in one area,
Mm.
disciplining yourself in other areas comes naturally at one point.
Like that's a really interesting idea. Like the fact that you're practicing discipline in one place and it bleeds over or overflows to other
Hmm.
places. It's really cool. It's like something that you can practice, almost like I don't know. Can't think of an example right now, But is there one thing that you would say like, wow, this made like a massive difference? Like it was like the first domino block that you hit down that just like knocked a whole bunch of other domino blocks over?
My daughter,
So for
realizing
all this,
how much I owe it to her to be a more healthier person.
so like basically all aspiring artists should have a daughter. That's just it, guys.
Yeah, should have a
Have
3-year-old daughter. Other ones won't do.
Yeah, it's crazy how like, you know, that just puts life or everything that we do into perspective. Man.
I think it's a matter of like, I don't like the term of like, I think people have wasted it a lot, like mindfulness, like being aware and stuff. But I mean, not the marketing part of it, but being aware of who you are, what you do, your weaknesses and your strengths, and what your life is, what your values are. And I mean, when I say this, I'm in no way an evolved person, not any more than anyone else. But for example, whenever I think of these stuff, I take notes because I can forget. And I mean, this is no joke. I have like in my notes, I have like a bunch of notes. Like, my values are kind of stuff like that because I need to go back and read them, right? Because you tend to forget when you're in a bad mood. Sometimes you fool yourself, even like you say different things to yourself and forget about what really means to you, and you have to remind yourself of it. So I think it's a matter of like being aware of what you are. For example, this just opens up another subject, but I'm just gonna mention it and then just leave it. For example, you know how they say like love yourself.
Yeah.
It just feels so. The main idea is good, but it just doesn't feel complete to me. It's like not love yourself, but know who you are and know your weaknesses and your strengths and be in peace with them, basically. And I think that, for example, to me, that feels so comfortable and feels much more easier to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, love for me, like when you say love yourself, it sounds a lot like your version of me time. You know, like the idea of if the plane's going down and the oxygen masks drop down, you need to put yours on first so that you can help other people. You need to have you time, or you need to love yourself so that you can love others. Or
exactly,
you know.
yeah.
So yeah, man, that's amazing. I want to talk about discipline because you've mentioned it now. Like I know that you're like 45 days in on holiday at your holiday house, and you've been working out every single day for 45 days. What does that look like?
It was a challenge. It still is a challenge, but that's the main idea. I'm doing it anyway because it might just be some personal stuff, but I drive myself on challenges. I love it. Even with my work, like every new painting that I do is a new challenge for me. I never paint for just like painting. I need to accomplish something. So this was since we were coming to the summer house, and I was just this year especially, it was too hard for me to leave my studio because I was just in the middle of something and I was just discovering some new stuff. I can tell you about them later. And I just wanted so much to be there and not like break the routine.
Yeah.
And then when I was coming to the summer, as I was like, all right, if I'm going there, I need to do something else that would benefit me. And I have never in my life like worked out on a streak like this. I have done sports all my life, but never like this. So I just started like, let's do 10 days. If I can do 10 days, then I'll see what I can do. 10 days. All right. Now, if I did 10, I can do another 10. Let's try this. Let's make it 20. That made it 30. That made it 40. Now I'm at 45. And
That's pretty incredible, man.
Yeah, I take it quite seriously. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like when people start noticing that you have been doing this, it gives you quite a bit confidence as well. And you feel like, all right, I need to do this tomorrow as well because then I'm not gonna get all the compliments. Then you do it again. But I mean, it's a challenge, but I'm confident that I will be completing 60 days this summer, and it's gonna be one of my biggest accomplishments, I think, this summer.
I mean, I was reading or listening to a book about movement, and guys who had done like over 60 days, I think it was, or like marathon runners. They were like offered a large amount of money to stop exercising and to see what would happen to them. And they were like, I'm not doing that. I can't. Like, I'm addicted to exercise. So I think like one, challenge is good. Like, I love challenges. Like every kind of new creative thing that I do, I'm like, I need to do something different. I need to try something new. I think doing stuff that's difficult is really cool. And even like a 10-day, like, let's see if this works for 10 days. And then seeing people comment on you, on your progress, or even like how you look. That's cool. But then after a little while, especially with exercise, it's like your endorphins start kicking in. You get addicted to moving. You get addicted to exercise. And I think it's like one of like the only things that you can get addicted to that's good for you. Like
it might
you can get
be,
addicted to drugs or coffee or whatever. And that kind of addiction is not good, especially in the long term. Yeah, alcohol, exactly. But we can chat about alcohol in a bit. The other area of discipline.
No, one second. Just I'm gonna cut in 1 second. If there's anybody out, can you hear me right now? It feels like it's breaking.
Yeah, you were like, just one thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this. If there's anybody out there who's gonna offer me a big amount of money on day 61, I say it here, and I promise I'm gonna accept it. Don't worry. Don't worry about it.
We're gonna create a little fun for Sarp on day 60.
And we will see if it's an addiction or not.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, you were saying, sorry.
It's like a really interesting concept, like this idea of like keeping a streak going. I know some people who do Duolingo to learn other languages. Like my wife got up to, I think, 1,000 days in a row of learning a new language. And this whole idea of a streak it's powerful. And then exercise is even more powerful because of the endorphins, because your body craves it. And when you do stop, especially for a couple of days, your body hates you. It's like, you get like frustrated, you get angry, you can't sleep, like the food doesn't taste as good, you can't work, your mind's cloudy. It's crazy. It's just like, what is going on? But when I first noticed this, I was like, oh wow, like is in your weekly art recaps, which I really enjoy watching. I'm like, what is Sarp doing now? Like, let's see. And it feels like, especially because your studio is in Istanbul, it's very different to mine. And the stuff that you do is always very different. So I'm like, let's watch this. And I first saw you working out in one of these videos, and I was like, it's actually really cool to see that being part of your weekly recap as an artist. And I think sometimes as creators, we can be like, that's over there. Let's focus on the drawings, on the paintings, on the design or whatever. And it's like, actually, it's pretty like holistic. If you want to be a better creative, you need to focus on exercise as well, on your health, on relationships, a whole bunch of other stuff, and sleep.
For a little while there, I didn't hear you, but I think I get the gist of it.
Okay. You
were just like, when you said, you know how some artists are like, workout is on that side?
Yeah.
And so you froze. Yeah.
So yeah, like it's this holistic thing. Like exercise needs to be part of our life, and not just
that
like
was a decision, by the way,
over there, to make it part of your life or make it part of your weekly recaps.
When I first started doing the weekly art recaps on the first week, it was just like I record them with these glasses, and I was just like I had this new toy that I wanted to play with all the time, so I was always like clicking record and recording everything like a psycho. And then at the end of the week, I had all these little footages, right? And then I was putting this all together. And the main idea was showing people my art practice and how my day goes as an artist. Of course, I'm not sharing what I eat. I'm not sharing my time home with my daughter. But as I was looking over the footages, like me coming into the studio, like feeding the stray cat every morning, and then going to like my boxing session, that's all part of the artist that I am. And then I thought like it would be really meaningful to do this, because I mean, doing those on a daily basis and doing that like periodically helps me out in this and this and this way. So it's not separate from my art persona, so to say. So it was basically a decision, and the first time I did it, I was like, if a lot of people come up and say like, what the fuck is this? Like, why are you doing this right now? Why am I saying this? I would take it out. It's no worries. Like, I'm allowed to fail as much as I want. So I just want to try it out. And just opposite, like a lot of people said, it's so cool that you're including this in the weekly art caps. Put more of this. For example, that's why I'm usually, and I did it with this as well. Like, I'm recording a little session of my meetings as well, because as boring as some meetings are, those are part of your routine as well. So I try to like include everything that I can that makes me who I am as an artist.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. This holistic approach to
Cheers, man.
life, basically, like, business is part of life, art is part of life, exercise is part of life. It's some things you leave out because of particular reasons, but it's all it's part of your life.
Failing is part of life.
What?
Failing is part of life as well.
Yeah, it is. And I love the idea that you allowed yourself to fail. You weren't like, oh, I don't know what to do here. You're like, let's test it out. It's really cool. But how many weeks have you been doing the recaps?
Right now, I mean, on this Sunday, I published the 24th one. Right now, I'm in week 25. So almost half a year.
That's crazy. And have you changed anything in your life because of them, or have you noticed anything by watching yourself and what you do through a week?
Strange, interesting question. I think, that's a hard one. I never thought about that. I think, I have some stuff has changed, because how you go about your day. Sometimes you do some stuff that you're not even like really aware that you're doing. It's just like you do it automatically.
Yeah.
And when I have the responsibility of recording stuff that are related to my art creation, I had to be aware of all of them. So there were times like I'm doing something and I just stop, like, why am I not recording this right now? Because I mean, it's part of it, and I'm just like doing it without thinking about it. And this is quite fun to do. And I'm just doing it without having the fun or recording it or anything. So let's focus on this right now. All right. I'm painting little toys that I designed myself and printed myself with a spray can. Right. This is fun. And I have to be aware that it is fun, and I have to record it. Like, I don't want to forget this like little time, right? So I think in that sense, it has helped me be a lot more aware of what I'm doing, and a lot more aware of how much fun or valuable or even boring stuff that I sometimes do. Being aware of it makes me help my time, makes me manage my time much better.
Yeah.
And that's helped me in that sense.
I love that, like just being aware of what you're doing, and the word like being mindful comes back, and like using technology that could become addictive in other senses, like recording everything. Like, I think if people had to see what I do and like be able to tap in like a live video feed, I'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna like just go visit that website because I just want to know what a dinosaur looks like. I'm like, I need to work. Or they would be like, wow, this guy just like does whatever he like gets in his mind, which is like an ADHD problem, It's like, oh, I want to know what this dinosaur is called. So let me go, research it. Or, oh, I have an idea. Let me go see if the URL is taken or not. It's like, you don't need to do that, Rich. Just chill. But like knowing that people are watching might change my behavior, or might like make me aware of what I'm actually doing. So it's a really interesting like, byproduct of wearing the glasses. And just tell people like what these glasses are actually.
Of course, I can show, like, since I'm not doing anything live.
Okay, hopefully Sarp will be back soon. Dup. Sarp, you there? Oh, there, Sarp. Okay, I'll just send him a message quickly. Oh man, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're kind of there.
Just to be clear, like I'm not. No, bad.
Yeah, I just
Should
the
I
last
change it
thing I
again?
wanted to. Yeah, you're
Is good or bad right now?
It's good. As long as I can hear you, it's
All right.
okay.
The thing you were asking about the glasses.
Yeah.
All right. You were asking about the glasses. Since I don't do anything live, I record them and I just like do all the editing at the end of the week. It doesn't really affect my procrastination process.
Yeah.
I can procrastinate as much as I want, but it's fun to put all that footage in front of you on Sunday and see how little work you have done that week as well. And I enjoy that as well, by the way. Like I don't care about it as much. Some weeks I'm just like, all right, I haven't done anything this week. But I mean, last week I have done like 6 people worth of stuff, so it doesn't matter as much. And these are the glasses that I'm using. So it's just Ray-Ban's smart glasses or something, Ray-Ban Meta. So basically I'm carrying Facebook on my face for some time.
Man, that's really interesting. So interesting. Something that we talked about earlier was.
Can you remember the first time we saw these glasses? Like,
I think I have like a vague memory of it, but I think I saw it. Maybe
Mumbot.
Was it on Mumbot? Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was you or Mumbot.
Yeah, in Barcelona.
I didn't even realize like what they were capable of then. But there's so many times where I'm like, when I see my daughter doing something.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying something.
I take out my phone and I'm like, oh, can you just do that again? And she's like, no, the moment's over. And I'm like, oh, damn, it would have been cool just to like tap, you know? I was going to say, this idea of you doing this, weekly art recap, you've been doing it for quite a while now. At what point did you think, like, this is going to be sustainable? We were talking earlier about sustainability. Like, I have this new idea, and you're saying, but can you do that sustainably? Can you actually execute that? We all have these great ideas. We all want to do like a great daily vlog or make reels or whatever. Like, how do you judge if something is sustainable? How did you decide, like, yes, I can actually do this?
First of all, I knew what I wasn't capable of doing. So for many years, I know that I'm not capable of recording my work, my process with my phone. I've tried it many times. I've got those USB ring lights. I've got the tripods. I've got all types of tripods basically in my studio. But I can't do it. I know the first thing is I know what I'm not capable of doing, right? So it just leaves me with a little option. And I was like, I have to be hands-free to record anything that I can, because I have to, and 2 things, sorry. I have to be hands-free and I shouldn't need a setup. Because sometimes, especially when I'm in my studio, it's a 2-floor studio. And when something comes in my mind and I just want to do it, then I usually leave my phone upstairs and then go downstairs, right? I don't even want to be disturbed by I don't want to be distracted by anything. And having my phone, setting it up, putting the lighting up, and when I'm doing that, the magic is gone, the moment is gone, right? I don't want to do that anymore. So I just have to be quick. So that was I didn't know what was gonna help me do it then, but I knew what I needed to in order to do this. And then when I first saw these glasses, I think it was on Mumble basically, then I started researching about it. And it felt that it could do, but I'm such a techno freak. Like I get excited by all new technological stuff and all new gadgets.
Yeah.
So for like I think 2 months or something, I was on YouTube like watching reviews of these glasses and trying to figure out if I would really use them if I bought them, or am I just like too excited to buy something new, right? Is it the consumer in me, or is it really gonna help me?
Yeah.
And then at one point I was like, all right, this is worth the money and I can try this. And I'm so happy that I got it. I wish I didn't lose those 2 months. It I was lucky that this was exactly what I needed to accomplish what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then it was just a matter of like, I'm quite a stubborn person, and I just love challenging myself, and I hate to disappoint myself as well. So when I was starting, I put some like ground rules. For example, the first one was as like you're gonna share your weekly art recap regardless of how much work you have done. Even if you haven't done any work that week, you're gonna share something that says that you haven't done shit that week, right? That was one of the first rules that I set for myself.
I love that.
And
That's
then
just like being
because I mean
authentic, man.
you tend to, at least I do, like, yeah, I tend to like find excuses, and I have to like eliminate those excuses right from the start. So
Yeah.
it feels like I have set the right amount of rules for myself so that I could do this for 25 weeks now, and that just kept me going.
Man, it sounds like I speak about it when I teach students how to do a 100-day project, for example. And it's like, if something is going to stop you or prevent you from doing it, like, you need to find ways to make it simpler or easier or shorter. Like, if there's a mental block on anything, you need to try and make it smaller so that you can be like, yeah, I'll just do it. So I often tell people, like, if you want to paint for like 100 days, like, you need to leave your painting stuff on like the dining room table, like not even in your studio, because you can avoid your studio, but you need to eat. And so as you're eating, you're like, oh, there's my painting stuff. Let me paint for 5 minutes. And 5 minutes could be like all it takes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how about 15 minutes? And then it's like, yeah, maybe we could do 15 minutes. Okay, what about 10? Yeah, maybe 5. Cool. I'm good with 5. Let's do 5. And so it's like, okay, like, how do you make things easier? How do you think make things smarter? And then I like the rules that you put in place as well. Previous, like before you start doing your project or your recaps. It's like, I will do this despite what I have or haven't done. I think it's really cool. I like it.
I think it's a matter of trying and failing before. So I have some experience, and I have tried some stuff and failed before. So I know how I work.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing here is like allowing yourself to adjust to the process during the process. Like for example, for me, like I never like, I can't set up some rules and try like figure out the whole like process and then not adjust throughout the process. If something's not going right, you have to adjust it.
Yeah.
If you're like being stubborn about, no, I promised myself that I'm gonna do it like this and I have to do it like this, then you're just gonna leave it and you're gonna fail at it anyway. So if you want to complete that, if it's a challenge, I think it's quite natural for us to adjust. Like, we are human beings, right? We adjust to life every day. We don't live every day as it is, and like I think it takes like it's quite important to adjust to whatever that project brings you, whatever your life brings you. I mean, you can start a 100-day drawing project, and in the middle of it, you can like be quite sick. Your wife could get pregnant. Anything, like any big major life change can happen, and like you sometimes you won't have the luxury to be stubborn about like continue on as you started. I think it's quite important that you like change color and like adapt to it.
Yeah. I had this, I did some like free writing yesterday, and I'll try to explain it succinctly, but I got
What
the
is free writing?
sense, it's like you just write whatever comes out your brain for like 10 minutes or half an hour. There's no real structure.
Nice.
You just like don't care about grammar
Huh.
or spelling. You just write with your hand at the speed of your hand or your thoughts, and you're not editing. And so I start writing about the blank page and perfectionism and things like that. And I get the sense that there's this idea that draws us into something. But it's the aim of that idea or this thing is just to get us started. It's to get us doing this thing. And it's like, that's the point. Once you're in it, it then changes and morphs and you go on this adventure. It's not this like concrete thing that you have to do. And if you can't do it, you don't do it. It's just this like this spark. And it like tempts you into it, like inspiration. And as you start doing it, you need to change because that's life. Like you go on this adventure, you go up one street, and only if you go up that one street do you find a side street that has an amazing cafe or a gallery or something on it. And then you meet somebody who tells you about some really cool caves that you can go dive off of into the ocean. And you're like, wow, I would have never found this place unless I was trying to like get to the Eiffel Tower. But if I wasn't going to the Eiffel Tower, I would have never have gone to these caves, So we've got about like 10 minutes or so left. I want to know how you decide what to work on. I remember a couple of our conversations in the past. You're like, yeah, I'm a Silver.io advisor. I'm doing an art business. I do art soup. I'm a visual designer. I'm an artist. Like you're doing 3D now. Like we initially met by doing Web3 and NFTs together. Like just seems like a lot, but it always seems like you're having fun. You've got this really like quirky, whimsical, fun, playful style. Same colors all the time. It's very recognizable, according to me. How do you decide what to work on? And how do you decide what to stop working
on? Right now, actually, I'm simplified it a lot. So I'm not that busy with a lot of things right now. But I think it's partly I'm not that type of person who can just stick to one thing and do that over and over and over again. I just get bored. Like I have to do a lot of stuff at the same time. I have to challenge myself. I have to learn new stuff, by the way. Like I can't stop learning new stuff and just be happy with all of the things that I've learned so far. It just feels like I'm missing out on a lot of new information. So, and that brings me like as much as you learn new stuff, you want to experience that, you want to try it out, you want to like mix that information with the previous thing when you have and invent something new and stuff. Like it's just a natural, I think, course of it. So that brings me to my art practice and how I like do like acrylic paintings, digital stuff, resin, 3D. Now I have my resin printer. I'm trying on new stuff with that, with spray paints and stuff, like all those mediums, all those new tools and toys for me. As much as like I learn new stuff, I tend to mix them. As for the business side of it, I don't know how I can translate this. Like there are two aspects to it, right? You have to make some money because life goes on and we have expenses, like all of that. So sometimes I have to just be reasonable and like make the right decision. Even if it's not fun or if it's not toys, you have to make the right decision. And other one is like, I've been quite lucky with my life so far about the opportunities that showed up. And what I've learned with some of my mistakes is that when an opportunity shows up, you don't have much time to decide about it. So I learned how to quickly decide about it and go about it. I have not been so lucky with the results of them, sadly. But I mean, life goes on. I still have time to learn, it seems. But I mean, with the business decisions that I do, some of it is clever decisions about business, and some of it is, for example, with Art Soup, it was, man, I mean, I had to do that. someone had to do that, and no one else but me was excited about it. Me with my team, by the way, with Keith and Ilis and all those guys.
Well, do you
But
want to just like
I had to do it.
Do you want to tell everyone what Art Soup is? Like I know, but do you want to give a quick rundown of
Sure.
what it involved?
Sure. Art Soup was what I mean, it still is, but the art scene in NFTs is quite slow, so that's why I'm saying was Art Soup is a collaborative art project on the NFT scene on AVAX. And what we did was up until today, it was bringing in a community of artists. Everybody was creating themselves, and then at one point, as annoying as we are, we just jumped in, like picked up all the canvases and mixed them and gave it to other people. So you start one canvas, and then someone comes in and takes it away from you and gives you another canvas that some other artist started, and you have to complete that. And it's I'm the most challenging artistic practices that I've tried. How can I say, like doing it like on a daily basis or like every 4 days or to keep your energy as well. Because I mean, I have heard this in the middle of the whole process. They're like completed the. Like everybody thanked me in the end. Like it was such a challenge, and I'm so happy that I completed this.
Yeah.
Quite a challenge for all of the artists that got in, but I can say this confidently that each and every artist that has joined in was happy with the result at the end.
Yeah, I mean, when I did mine, maybe like a different kind of
explanation?
What's that?
No, was that like? Could I explain it? Like, was it understandable? That's what I asked.
Yeah, I think so. When I did mine, like I found it really challenging to work with somebody else's style, like a random somebody. Like normally my collaborations, I pick and choose who to work with, you know? And so like being randomly assigned somebody else to work with or collaborate with for like half a piece, it's like, how do I turn this into something that I would be proud of? Like, it's quite easy to just mess around, to be like, cool, here we go, like, you know, a doodle bomb on a portrait in a doctor's office, like, here we go, don't care what this looks like, but then to make it into something that you're proud of, and then to also release that to somebody else, to be like, please make this look good. Like, I need you to finish this. This is my little baby. Like it's really challenging. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting project and concept for an artist to grapple with. So yeah, I applaud you for doing that. And if anybody else here wants to get involved with that, like, are the doors open still, or how would they, you know, get involved?
Yeah, of course, always. Our website, artsoup.xyz, you can always contact me. Artsoup has not been creating new stuff for a while now.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that it's stopped. It's just that I have to say this because I mean, NFT art scene is not what it was when we were doing it right now.
Yeah.
It's some like other to pause it for a while because we were responsible to all of the artists that we got in, and as long as we were not able to deliver to them, and I'm not just saying sell the NFTs. That's the last part. I don't care about that part a lot, but to get the attention that they deserve, to get the respect for what they have done, I feel responsible in that area. So if we were not gonna get those, I think it was best that we paused because I mean it was just like not promising the right thing to people. So that's why, as long as I'm alive, at least I can promise that it's not gonna end.
I think that for me as an educator, like as an artist and an educator, I think the act itself of collaborating with a random person, both finishing and starting a piece, it's a very good like creative exercise and a very good challenge. And I think being somebody who brings people together can actually be enough value in and of itself. You don't need to necessarily publicize what everybody has created. It's almost like an added extra. I think that if you had people in the same area, you could put on an exhibition or something like that. That could be pretty fun. Yeah, you just are a little bit frozen now, and you're gone. And that's okay. I have one more like specific thing that I'd love to chat to Sarp about. So I'm going to hang on and ask him about this thing. But it's pretty crazy what Sarp does and has done. Like his style is amazing. I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. His website is artofsarp.com. Awesome. I'm trying to do something here where I can like pop in a little text or something. Let's try Art
Like
of
my socials
Sarp.
and stuff.
Let's say save and show. There we go.
Oh,
Artofsarp.com.
nice.
Bam. So yeah, guys, go check his stuff out. The last kind of thing that I wanted to chat about, like, it's really difficult to chat about your artwork and all the cool stuff that you do. I love how physical your work is. Like, I do so much digital stuff, and I do a little bit of like physical work. I love that you're sanding stuff. You've got doors. You've got like real big ass pieces. You 3D print stuff. So I love that. I love that your style is with that as well and in that. But what I wanted to end with was, you deal with a lot of artists. You've dealt with a lot of artists in your past. What is the biggest thing that artists struggle with? What is the thing that has made the biggest difference? What have you seen that is common with artists?
Rich, sorry. It broke again. What is the biggest you said? And then I just heard the question mark. Can you just repeat that?
So with artists, what are the biggest challenges that you've seen with artists in general, and what are the biggest things that make the biggest difference in terms of their success, their creativity, their productivity? Like, can you like clump a few things that are common together for us?
Easily, but it would take some time without offending anyone. I think, I mean, it's when you're an artist, people tend to act with their ego much easier, other than other professions. So I think the biggest difference was that, you know how, have you watched what was the name of that, like the legendary song that all of the American artists sang together like years ago, that was led by Michael Jackson or someone? There was like, there's a bunch of like, all the famous singers in the world gather up in a recording studio, and they have to sing this song for like kids in Africa, I think it was. I don't remember the title of the song, but I mean, you'll get the gist of it. And at the door of the recording studio, there was one little saying. It was like, "Leave your ego outside." That's, I think, quite a nice summary, because I mean, I think being a decent person, being respectful of like yourself and to others, is the core of success. If you're not respectful, if you're not a decent person, if you think you are in any way higher than anyone else, better than anyone else, I don't care how good your work is, you're gonna fail. Sorry about this, but life is not gonna accept you. And this was the biggest struggle that I had, because I mean, with some people, when you start a project, you don't know everyone personally. I was lucky enough to be friends with most of them, but I mean, you don't know everyone personally, and you love their work, you love their like aesthetic, their style, their paintings and everything, and you want to work with them, or they want to work with you, and you accept it based on their like art merits, and then you start working and they're just like a diva, or just like thinking they're better than anyone else. And
Yeah.
to me, and I've seen this couple of times, like if you're like that, you're not gonna be accepted, no matter how good you are. You're gonna be trash at the end. Sorry about this. You first have to be respectful, and you first have to be a decent human being. That's, I think, the main part. And I think this doesn't just apply to being an artist. This applies to every profession, every human being out there. So it's not
Yeah.
different than anything else. You just have to know how to listen. You just have to know how to speak respectfully. You just have to know that everyone has their own values, and no, you shouldn't offend anyone. That's, I think, the most important part of it.
Man. Yeah, that's some really cool advice. And I think that especially successful artists, whatever success means for you,
Yeah,
like can actually get a big head. Um, Sometimes it's not really their fault. It's just,
of
what is it,
course.
like the fundamental attribution error. Like anybody in that situation would kind of feel the same, kind of feel like they've got no time or they're a big deal or whatever. But I think that it's really important to try remember that. Um, and
And
sometimes
you know
you're
how like throughout history, like we remember a lot of names who were successful, but the
yeah,
ones we remember the most were like, he was such a great basketball player, but he was also very respectful to others. He was
yeah,
such a great rock star, but he always treated well to his teammates and stuff. Like
yeah,
that always comes like at the end of the sentence. It's always added because that's one of the core values. Like
yeah. I do also like, and he's human. So like he also farts, like he's not just like perfect because I remember Tiger Woods being like that. Everybody was like, this dude is
yeah,
amazing. He's great at golf. He's such a nice guy. And then it came out that he's like, he has a wife and slept with like, I don't know, hundreds of
yeah,
women. And it's like, okay, dude, like if you maybe didn't have a wife and you did that, like that would be less frowned upon. But the fact that you were hiding it and then, trying to be
yeah.
Mr. Nice Guy, oof.
Deceiving.
But I think the English captain, the football captain, soccer captain, uh, is he the soccer captain? I can't remember his name, but apparently he's like really good English football player. But he's also like a really nice guy, and he put his coat on one of those little kids that come out onto the field with the players. And yeah, he's just like he has everything almost. And I think at that stage you could be like, well, I'm going to be a dick, but he's chosen not to be. He's chosen to be really kind.
Oh, I think it feels like it is quite easy to be a dick if you have that many people rooting for you. I can't know for sure because I haven't like, been that successful in my life yet, and I hope that I never will be. By the way, because I don't know if I can manage that much success. Basically, I'm afraid of myself. But I mean, I think it's quite easy because if like I love watching the documentaries about like these artists and like singers and everyone else, like real life stories. And
Yeah.
usually, what I see is those people have a bunch of people around them who just constantly just give positive feedback to them and
Mm.
not um I'm not gonna like not critique like fairly, and
Yeah.
that will knock you off your shoes definitely. Like you have to have honest people around you. There was one interview that I watched lately about like this was just one Turkish guy giving an interview, but what he was saying is that I've always felt it was very important to have friends before I was famous with me throughout the process because they are always gonna be very brutal with me, and
Yeah.
they don't care about my job stories, like they don't care about my work, and that keeps my foot grounded, and it makes so much sense to me.
Yeah. That's really important. I really like that.
Yeah.
So I reckon I could spend another like 2 hours at least chatting with you. And yeah, I just want to say thanks for your time
Oh,
this
cheers, man.
evening. You know, being at your summer house where you're meant to be spending time with your family. I know it will mean a lot to the listeners, the viewers of this Tap Tap Kaboom show. This is episode number 2, which is amazing. So yeah, I'm trying to be, you know, disciplined and do something that I can do sustainably. And apparently I can talk for hours at length sustainably, which is really fun. So thanks for being,
Thanks so
guest
much.
number 2. Big loves,
Oh, cheers,
bro.
man.
And if there is anything that you want to end with, I'll leave the final words to you. Otherwise, I'll sign off.
Oh, cheers, man. Thanks for having me. You know how I always tell this to you, and this is not being me being kind or anything. It's always I love talking to you, man. I always learn a lot of new stuff, and then I always feel like I've gotten out of it with much more than I had before. So
Oh,
I just
well, makes
I just
2 of us.
thought of it. Cheers, man. I just thought of this like one of our um chat private chats, and I hope it feels like that.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm sure that you're gonna keep on doing this because I have this feeling that this fits you a lot, and it's just your natural like self you were imposing or anything right now. So I just feel like this is gonna go on for a while, and watched the first one as well, just as you launched it, and I had that feeling then as well, and I'm having it right now as well. So I hope it turns out to be as good as you wish it will be. And
amazing.
thank you so much for having me. Thanks, man. Cheers. I love you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.